In the unseen realm, there are beings of darkness, known to be responsible for the evil that exists today. Scripture does not reveal everything about these beings, but it reveals enough to understand their nature, their origin, their purpose, and their end. Before demons were demons, they were something else. They were created, formed by God like all things, among the heavenly host, beings of light, messengers of the divine will. But among them, one rose in pride. He sought to ascend, to exalt himself above God. And in his rebellion, he was not alone. A third of the heavenly host followed him, corrupted. And together, they were all cast out of heaven. These became what we now call demons. They are not equal. They are not without structure. Scripture reveals a hierarchy, and today we'll be ranking them using that hierarchy, beginning with deceptive and lying spirits, the agents of falsehood. Among the most subtle and pervasive forms of demonic activity are those spirits dedicated to deception, influencing thought, speech, and belief, leading individuals and nations into error, not through force, but through falsehood, as seen in 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 19 to 23, where the prophet Micaiah describes a divine vision to King Ahab of Israel. He sees God seated on a throne, surrounded by the host of heaven. God asks who will entice Ahab to attack Ramoth-Gilead so that he may fall in battle. After various suggestions, a lying spirit steps forward and offers to deceive the king by speaking through the mouths of all his 400 prophets. God approves the plan, saying, "You shall entice him, and you shall succeed." The passage reveals that while Ahab chose to listen to his 400 false prophets, who the deceptive spirit spoke through, their unified message of victory was actually a divinely permitted deception intended to lead the king to his judgment by God. This demonstrates that deception can operate at the highest levels of leadership, shaping events that impact entire nations. And this aligns with the broader warning that in later times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of demons, revealing that not all error originates from human reasoning alone, but from spiritual influence designed to distort truth and lead away from God. And these spirits often operate in ways that appear convincing, presenting falsehood in forms that resemble truth, making discernment essential. For their purpose is not merely to mislead temporarily, but to establish patterns of belief that separate individuals from the truth of God. These are just the first of the demonic spirits from our list, and trust me, they get worse. Up next are the bound spirits, imprisoned rebels. It's important for us to know that not all fallen beings remain active within the world, for Scripture reveals that some have been confined, bound in chains of darkness, reserved for judgment due to the severity of their rebellion, as seen in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, indicating that within the broader narrative of spiritual conflict, there are distinctions even among the fallen, some permitted to operate for a time, others restrained until the appointed day. And this confinement serves as both a judgment and a testimony, demonstrating that rebellion carries consequence even before the final judgment, and that God exercises authority not only in the future, but in the present, limiting the activity of certain entities while allowing others to fulfill a role within the unfolding of his purposes. Scripture doesn't delve deep into these spirits, so we can't really know the full depth of their power, but since they are locked away, I reckon they must be pretty ruthless. Moving on to the third spirits, the special named entities or unique demonic commanders. Within the demonic hierarchy, certain beings are identified by name or title, suggesting specific roles, domains, or levels of authority distinct from the general classification of spirits. Among them, Beelzebub, referred to as the Prince of Demons, indicating a position of leadership beneath Satan, and Abaddon, also called Apollyon, described as the king over the abyss, a ruler associated with destruction and judgment, commanding entities released at appointed times. And these names do not merely identify individuals, but reveal the existence of structured command within the kingdom of darkness, where certain beings hold defined authority over particular functions or domains, reinforcing the concept that demonic activity is organized, intentional, and hierarchical. Yet even these figures, despite their titles and roles, remain subject to the same ultimate fate as all who rebel. For their authority is not eternal, their power not independent, and their end already declared within the prophetic revelation of Scripture, the unclean spirits. At the most visible level of demonic activity are the unclean spirits described throughout the Gospels, beings that interact directly with individuals, manifesting in ways that reveal their presence through speech, behavior, and affliction, demonstrating that the unseen realm intersects with the physical in tangible ways. And these spirits are shown to recognize Christ immediately, responding with fear and acknowledgement of his authority. as seen in Mark chapter 1 verse 23 to 26, where Jesus encounters a man possessed by an unclean spirit in the synagogue at Capernaum. The spirit recognizes Jesus' divine identity, crying out, "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus commands the spirit to be quiet and come out of him. The spirit then throws the man into a violent convulsion and shrieks loudly as it departs, revealing their awareness of their ultimate fate. And these encounters illustrate not only their ability to influence and inhabit, but also their complete subjection to divine command. For at a word they are cast out, at a command they depart, showing that their power, though real, is not autonomous, and their actions often include torment, deception, and the distortion of human behavior. Yet they cannot act beyond what is permitted, and their desire for embodiment is further revealed when they request to enter into other hosts rather than be cast out entirely, indicating a dependency on physical vessels for expression. And while their activity is often the most recognizable, it represents only one layer of a much larger structure, one that operates both visibly and invisibly, yet always within limits set by God. Satan, the supreme adversary. There exists within the unseen realm a central figure from whom all rebellion flows, a being not equal to God, yet positioned as the highest authority within the kingdom of darkness, known throughout Scripture as Satan, the adversary, the accuser, the deceiver of the whole world, whose fall marks the beginning of all demonic existence. For before his corruption he stood among the heavenly host, created in perfection, adorned with beauty and wisdom, yet lifted up in pride until iniquity was found within him, seeking to ascend above his appointed place and establish his throne above the stars of God. And in this rebellion he was not alone, for he drew others into his defiance, leading to a conflict within the heavenly realm that resulted not in uncertainty, but in judgment, as he and those aligned with him were cast down, removed from their place, separated from the presence of God. And from that moment, his role became defined not by creation, but by opposition, appearing throughout Scripture as one who accuses the righteous before God, who seeks to deceive nations and blind the minds of men, whose power is real yet limited, whose authority is permitted but not sovereign, and whose end has already been declared. For though he operates within time, his judgment is certain, and his dominion is temporary. For it is written that he shall be cast into the lake of fire, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented forever. And thus he stands not as an equal force against God, but as a defeated adversary, whose influence persists only until the appointed time, orchestrating the structure of darkness beneath him, yet never escaping the ultimate authority of the one who created all things.